It's a fact of life. We're all going to die someday. And I want to go out pleasantly in my sleep like my grandfather did, and not screaming and crying like his passengers were. Hey friends, Kevin here. I'm still hanging after about 10 days or so at Land Between the Lakes in Tennessee and Kentucky. I've been on the Tennessee side most of the time. The 16-degree weather has broken. 16-degree nights, hopefully for good. You know, it was about 60 yesterday. It's about 65 today. Running around in shorts and t-shirts again, a little bit of a jacket now because the wind picked up later in the afternoon. But it's been about as close to perfect as it can be. But I want to have a little chat with you for those, see how those of you on the road handle it, and those of you thinking about going on the road, to give you something about how you would handle it, which is dealing with death on the road when you're far away from your home or your home base. But on to today's topic. How are you going to deal with death when you're out on the road? Or how do you deal with death when you're out on the road and you're far from home? Because we're out here for long periods of time. I have thought about this before, what's going to happen if I happen to be gone, because I have been, 2,000 plus miles away from home on some of these other trips. This is, if everything goes right, going to be the longest trip that I have ever had. And I will go back and decide if I want to try to make the push towards even doing this full time. But even though I've thought about different ways this could go, this trip, if you follow these videos, has gotten delayed, one to a mechanical issue, what have you. So I got off on a later trip. So I finally got out the door. I'm 36 hours into this trip. I am 6 hours driving time away from home, and I get a phone call. Of course, there's a death in the family. A relative, not a really close relative, but it brings up all these things of where do you draw the line, of when you should go back. And once you're far enough away, driving back is not going to be an option. I'm on the East Coast. If I'm in the West, there isn't going to be driving 2,000 miles back across the country in 3 days, especially in a larger vehicle. And I don't know why anybody would want to put themselves through that. So now you're dealing with flying. You're dealing with leaving your vehicle somewhere, leaving your vehicle in an airport parking lot. You're dealing with the mass expense of flying. If you fly, if you need a ticket close to the time you're traveling, you're going to pay out the nose for. I do not have any experience with, and if some of you do, I would like to hear your experiences of being able to get a ticket at a discounted rate because you're having to travel for death or a funeral. I just don't know how easy that is. I don't know how that goes. I've heard some people say they had no problems. I know people that had a lot of problems. I know people in the military that's had a lot of problems getting out to go to a funeral. And I don't even know what they consider, being a close enough relative that they will allow these things to happen in discounted rates. If it's one of your buddies, I assume that doesn't count. It could be your best friend, but you really don't have a way to prove that. So if it's not grandma or grandpa or something like that, Aunt Edna maybe, but I don't know where they draw the line on allowing you to get discounts. And my understanding is, you kind of have to prove it. They have to be able to go to, a funeral home website and see the thing there of the person you're going to go back to, your reason for going. And I understand that too, because otherwise people would lie about going to funerals to get discounted airfare at the last minute. But again, I just don't have experience with that. And I don't know that I would really want to even go to the hassle of that. But I guess you don't know these things until you're in that situation and it happens, and you really have to make that decision. On this particular funeral, I honestly doubt I was very missed by anybody. They really don't know where I am. They don't know what I'm into for the most part. Like I said, most of my family has no idea what I do out here. Some of my friends do. Most of my family doesn't. And there's still a little bit of guilt, I guess, for maybe not doing it. If I was further away and had to deal with an airline flight, again, I don't really know what I would do in that situation. I don't know if I would come back across the country, even for a close relative, to stand in that line for 2 hours and have strangers come around and shake my hand. And then have to immediately leave and come back across the country to wherever my rig was. So, more than the way I guess I would handle things, I'm much more interested in the way that those of you that have been in this situation actually have handled things, or how you think you would handle things. Because the fact of the matter is, you really need a plan for this. You need to think this out ahead of time, and the further you go away from home, the more important it's going to be to kind of have a plan on how you're going to handle this, because we're all going to end up in this situation eventually if we're out on the road or we're traveling for any significant period of time. Some things in life, there's a right answer. This is one of those things, the right answer, I think, is going to be a little bit different for each of us. And the right answer may be different depending on who it is in our family or friend or whatever that we lose when we have to deal with this situation and we're out on the road. So, again, whatever your comments are, good, bad, I'd love to see them on this particular topic. As for some other topics I want to cover while I'm out here, I have a list, but I know there's individual questions. Sometimes I'll make a video based on something asked. There's things that's still in my mind that I haven't just gotten in the right place to be able to do them yet. I know audio and a few other people I've been promising for a long time getting these two vans together so I can do a real comparison between the minivan and this full-size van that I use. That is coming at the end of this trip when I finally have these in the same location at the same time and have time to do it, because I really want to get that up in a couple of different comparison videos of different aspects and how the pros and cons of each one of those vehicles.